Revenge S with her AP wife. My wife was having an extramarital affair with another guy. I replied by having an S***** relationship with the AP wife. After informing my wife of the situation, she immediately began complaining, and our marital counselor said that I was just as bad as she was about everything. That, in my opinion, is just nonsense. Even if she hadn't done it from the outset, I would not have done it later on. Avenging a wrong was the theme of my story, if such a thing is ever conceivable. Information about the background. It was about a year ago that I realized my wife was having an extramarital affair. I came upon photographs and messages on our shared computer that I had completely forgotten about before. When I confronted her, she lied and said that I was schizophrenic and that I was concocting stories in my head to justify my actions. After that, I handed her the copy of the photographs. It was at this point that she started to progressively expose herself to me. I'd had enough, so I reached out to the AP wife for assistance. Her emotions were running high, yet she ended up being the only one who was able to give me the truth in this situation. For 3 months, the only communication was via text messages, which were sent at all hours of the day and night. My wife did not get any alerts since her phone's notifications were turned off. Almost every week, they also got together for S with each other. Despite all that had happened, she indicated a wish to stay with me. We decided to participate in a marriage counseling program. I'll be the first to admit that my primary motivation was strictly financial. As a result of the sale of my firm, I didn't want to be compelled to leave with just half of the proceeds, which represented 15 years of my life savings. At the same time, I was maintaining a consistent line of communication with the AP wife. He had been kicked out of the house by his mother. My wife refused to leave or give me any space at all. One night, my phone rang. She usually texted, and it was the AP wife on the other end who spoke with me. She was having a very difficult night and wanted to chat with someone about it. Following that chat, there was more flirting back and forth, and I told her that I would be stopping by shortly afterward. She indicated an interest in taking part in the project. Then one night, I went over to the AP home, where I drank his beer while having S with his wife in the living room of the residence. This carried on for about a month before being resolved. When I confessed to my wife during an argument, the whole thing came to an end. Look, I'm well aware that my situation is dire, and I should probably just pack up my possessions and go as soon as possible. I realize that this isn't the most adult way to deal with an affair, and I apologize for that. Only after my contacts with the AP wife did I have the confidence to return to my marriage and put some effort into improving it. Not only that, but I didn't feel ashamed or disappointed anymore. So am I incorrect in thinking that this is a retaliatory action against me? Is it accurate to say that it is just a Fit Street 2? My wife of 10 years is cheating, I think. Background information: we are approaching our 10-year anniversary together, and things haven't been going well for a time. They have made progress, yet the situation remains unsatisfactory. To be clear, we are not unhappy in any way, but we have the potential to be so much more. It doesn't help that my profession requires me to be away from home for 3-4 evenings a week on average, and she has had to shoulder the majority of the responsibility for our family on her alone for a significant amount of our marriage. I had a history of cheating on my wife, both before and throughout the early years of our union. When it comes to women, I have an addicted nature, albeit I have gradually modified my conduct over the years. Despite the fact that I am far from perfect, I have made and continue to make an effort to learn from my errors. My wife was an amazing saint as I shattered her heart time and time again, and I genuinely would not be who I am now if it were not for her, and I hope I have had a similar influence on her as well. We became friends with a couple a number of years ago. However, if I'm being really honest, it was more my wife's attraction to the husband who sparked the friendship. Another relevant point is that, although we are not active practitioners of alternative lifestyles, we have discussed them and have no objections to them. I was aware of her attraction to him and felt comfortable with it, both in terms of my confidence in her and the possibility of some new dynamics developing. I tried something similar with his wife, and it worked out very nicely for both of us. Fast forward a few months, and things started to go wrong, not so much between Moore and I as it did with his comfort level with her and me, as my addicted nature exploded right in front of my face. It took a long time for me to recover emotionally, but the lesson was learned and life went on. During the course of the aforementioned relationship's downhill spiral, I discovered that my wife had developed feelings for the spouse in issue. This was a major stomach hit for me since I had no clue how far things had emotionally deteriorated for her before this. For context, my addiction to the other wife was not based on love. We simply clicked well in a lot of areas, and I had a very difficult time balancing that with the real world. While my second wife and I have maintained a polite relationship to this day, we do not communicate unless we are in the same social circle. This was done on purpose because I believe I was too much for her to handle, and I felt it was necessary to do so for my personal well-being as well as the well-being of my marriage as a whole. It was mostly out of remorse and humiliation that I said little to nothing about my wife, continuing to talk to her husband. Context: I did not cheat with the other wife, but the opportunities were very obviously there and I was openly playing with fire. I'd always assumed they were still communicating, but I didn't say anything since I didn't want to upset the apple cart. Some areas of our marriage have improved as our relationship has progressed, while others have not. As my emotional maturity and improvement have progressed, I have become painfully aware of the areas in which my wife continues to maintain a distance from me. The fact that her connection with him is still a thing has always been clear to me in my heart. I've been rationally aware of the indications for some time, and I've just now begun to digest them in the proper manner. I have a strong suspicion that something is going on, but I do not have any specific evidence of what it is. My soul hopes that it is only an emotional reaction, but there are far too many indicators that it is not. I've gained access to her WhatsApp chat history. I've gained access to her iCloud storage account. I know what I'm looking at, and the math is what it is as well. I can't say that I blame her given my personal background and all of the sorrow and suffering I've caused her. Emotionally, I blame myself, but rationally, I recognize that she is an adult woman who is solely accountable for her own decisions and actions. Stress from this sudden awareness is making it very difficult for me to live my life in the manner that I should, and I realize that something has to be done. I'm not sure where to go from here, and this isn't the case of a fearful husband who doesn't want to rock the boat. Despite the fact that I am very terrified of confrontation, I cannot continue to live in this manner indefinitely. I've struggled with depression in the past and have no desire to go down that road again now. My best buddy, to whom I would normally turn, is expecting his first kid in a few days, and I do not want to put any further strain on him. A large number of our shared friends are just that, mutual friends, and I am unable to bring them into this. As a result, I am unable to consult with my parents, who are on different ends of the stupid spectrum, and would provide no constructive counsel. With all of my heart, I adore this lady. That sounds so cheesy, doesn't it? We have weathered many storms together, and I'm hopeful that we will be able to weather this one as well. But the sense of betrayal is overpowering. Do I deserve to go through the same ordeal? Is this any kind of restitution for my actions? This is the area in which I have the greatest difficulty. Because I've essentially ruined her life. She expects the worst from me now, and she's not wrong. She was so pure and innocent when we first met, and I've taken advantage of her innocence. It is really difficult for me to determine whether or not I have a legitimate reason to be outraged about this based just on my own background. During the time it took me to write this, she erased a piece of WhatsApp discussion she had with him about preparing an upcoming gathering and begging him not to go since his family had been invited by a mutual acquaintance. I'll confess that I've been reading a lot over the previous several days and got the impression that there were some gaps in their chats, and now I have concrete evidence to support that suspicion. Do you know how long this has been going on? What exactly am I missing?